Hello, everybody. Tina Hogan Grant here with my regular Cuppa A Natter. Sorry for the slight delay. We had a little technical difficulty, but we made it. We're
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And Sharon Gloger Friedman is joining me tonight. I'm so excited to talk to you this evening. How are you, my dear?
I am fine. Thank you for having me. Thanks for the near nervous breakdown over technology. We're good. We're good.
We're good. Technology gets me all the time. But
Yes.
we did chat, I think about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. I can't believe I've been doing this chat for almost 2 years because you're one of my earlier guests. And
I remember very distinctly what a great time we had too.
yeah, and we're going to do it again tonight because I'm super excited. We're going to be talking about this wonderful book that I'm currently reading. I was hoping to finish it, but you know how busy I am.
I do know how busy you are, and it's a long book, and there's a lot going on in it. So
a lot of people know the only place I can read is in the bathtub because there's like no disturbances, and I'm very careful with this in the bathtub, may I add. But it's like I'm taking long baths thanks to your book because I really don't want it to end reading it. But before we get into the book, I just want to recap a little bit about you. For the new viewers that didn't catch you last time. Plus, it's been a couple of years.
It has.
Just give us a little impact. Where are you joining us from?
I live now in Houston, Georgia, which is North Georgia, about 40 miles from Atlanta. We've been here almost 10 years. We retired here. And why here? Well, we have these two really cute grandchildren that live not far from here. Or they were really cute when we moved here. They're now college age, but that was the draw to come here.
And are they still in the area?
Yeah, they are. They both go to school in state schools here in Georgia, so we do get to see them. Of course, my daughter and son-in-law are here too. And we came here from Boston, so it's a big change. Yeah, but we really do like it here. It's a very nice little community that we live in. And I
saw a picture of your daughter. I think it was her birthday or graduate something.
Yeah.
She looks like you.
She does. Prettier though, much prettier.
No.
Yeah, no, I can definitely claim her as mine. There's no doubt about it.
Oh yeah, I saw the resemblance right away. She's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you've written two novels. The first one, which I read, is Ashes.
Yes.
Now this one came out. What year did this come out?
2019.
Okay, we're going to talk about this one a little bit because this one also needs a mention too.
Yes.
My favorite genre is historical fiction. So I am a huge fan of yours, as you know.
Thank you.
I love your style of writing. I love the research that you do. And we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the research is a big deal. Yeah, it is. It is. It's very, it's integral. Well, if you're going to write historical fiction, you've got to get the historical part right. So it requires an awful lot of research. And Ashes took me about 2.5 years to write, and I chalked that up to just being new at writing a novel. But I have to tell you, In Freedom's Light took 3 years to write, and it was mostly because of the research.
I can believe it. I mean, I'm impressed with what I've read so far. And the dialogue is spot on.
Thank you. I tend to lead with dialogue. I tend to fill in the gaps in the story with dialogue, but I also write character-driven novels. Both of them, I feel like, are very dependent on the characters and how the characters move forward in the book.
Yeah, and just the way you worded the dialogue is how they would speak back in those times.
I tried, yeah, and some of it was difficult in the beginning, the more formal language and avoiding certain words that they would never have uttered at the time. Like they would never have said pregnant in Freedom's Light at that time. It was with child.
I didn't know that. I'm glad you did your research. I wouldn't have caught that one.
It would not, it's with child or expecting. It was a delicate word at the time. So it's those kinds of things that were influencing me and making me very careful as I was writing the book, and hence it took a long time to write.
Oh, I can imagine. We're going to pause for just a little bit. We have a lot of people joining us. I'm here with Sharon Gloger Friedman. We're talking about her latest book. Hold on, here we go. in Freedom Light. Now, when did this come out, Sharon?
In November, I believe it came out. November 2021. Yeah,
I was so excited when you announced it was coming out. Hold on, let's say hi to a few people. I know you know a lot of these people. Peggy Patterson is here. She says, hello, here we go. Hello, everyone. Sharon, so nice to have you here tonight. Tina, always good to see you. Making my cuppa as we speak.
Hi, Peggy.
Karen Veit is here. Peggy, I said Peggy. Janet Weisbird is here. Renee Denise Simmons, Alicia Haney, Darlene Johnson. I'm just going down the line here. Cinda Anru. I know you know all these people.
I do, and hello, everyone.
Hollywood, Bambi. Bambi doesn't need a last name. Notice that? She's the only Bambi I know. Linda Tucker. They're all here to talk about your book. Any questions, Sharon? Go ahead and put in the comments. I will try and get to as many as I can. Okay, so in free, first of all, what I this book, and I'm not saying you knew because of the time setting, but what inspired this story?
This story came about. I had finished Ashes, and I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to write. And then I explained this in the book. I was at a dinner party that I actually went to very reluctantly because I don't know why, but I didn't want to get all dressed and everything, but did, and met this young woman who, in the course of conversation, had mentioned that she had gotten the results of a DNA test. You know, one of the companies that she go to, and she was very surprised to find out that she had Hispanic and Jewish background and ancestors. She grew up in South Carolina in a Catholic family. And we started talking, and I asked her if there was anybody in her family that had any practices or performed any practices that were associated with Judaism. And she had said that a maternal aunt of her father's lit the Sabbath candles and avoided eating pork. And this just clicked with me right away because there was during the Inquisition, Spanish Inquisition, many Jews were forced to convert or face death or torture. But some of them, not all of them, practiced their Judaism in secret. And in that context, practicing your Judaism in secret really meant what few things you could do in secret. It didn't mean that you were totally practicing all of Judaism. They clung to what they could. Right, lighting the Sabbath candles was one thing you could do in secret, and mostly they would go down into their cellars and light them, and just try to keep the tradition and the association with the Judaism. So in talking, and it occurred to me that this young woman probably had Jewish ancestors that she never knew about. And I'm very much about family. If you read Ashes, you know it's the same thing. And I did a little more research into it. I knew about, they're called secret Jews or conversos, that group of people. And they were Sephardic Jews. They were Jews from Spain and that part of the country. And so I started doing a little research, and it started clicking with me. And so the story started evolving. And actually, when I started it, I thought the book would be about someone who discovered they were Jewish and how it changed their lives, because I'd read a lot of stories about that. As I started writing them, again, it just kind of went the way it was. It just never went the way I thought it would. I just let it happen, and I know you write the same way. I just kind of let the characters take.
Right. Did you do that with Ashes too? Did you just kind of let the story unfold? You didn't have a whole map?
I started out with a map in Ashes, and then I could see it when it started going its own way. So this book, I kind of had an idea, but that idea changed as I was writing, and I let the characters.
Yeah, and in fact, I had a conversation with my editor this morning about the same thing, about plotting and penciling, and I said, it's not my story; it's the character's story. So whatever they tell me is what's going to get written, because if I try and change it, it doesn't sound like a real story. It just sounds fake.
Exactly.
For me, and probably for you too. But if the characters are telling me their
yeah, we were
story,
talking about dialogue. Yeah, we were talking about dialogue. As I was writing the dialogue, I'm thinking, it was like I was hearing what they were saying, and I was going with what, where it took me. So I think that's one of the reasons it took me so long to write too. There were some days, excuse me, where I would just have to walk away, not think about it, and let them kind of stew in my head, and then come back to it too. Yeah.
So with you not plotting and you're letting the story unfold, there have to be points where you're like, shoot, I have to do some research and stop writing.
Oh, absolutely. When I started the book, I just did this vast kind of research to make sure I could kind of do what I wanted to do. But as I was writing, there were many times I would stop and have to research to make sure I could have a character do what it was doing or say what it was going to say, he or she was going to say. And then unfortunately, I like to research, and I'd find a little interesting piece of information that had nothing to do with the book, and then I'd shoot off and follow that for a while because I just wanted to find out what it was all about. So I became my own worst enemy, and I really had to stop doing that. But I will also say I could spend 2 hours researching for a sentence, that just to make sure that it was going to be okay, and that I could have a character doing what he was doing, and not only if I found the answer once, I made sure I found the same answer somewhere else to make sure.
Yeah, you have to back up your research and make sure it's legit and not just one side saying it and 10 other sides are saying something completely different. And for me, I love reading historical fiction. It's my favorite genre to read. But the thought of ever trying to write historical fiction just scares the heck out of me because of the research. And you have to be so accurate. So I admire your patience to write these books.
Well, you wouldn't have said I was very patient if you were here in this room with me while I was writing. There were some real bad days with a lot of 4-letter words,
Yeah, my father, I always think of my father too when people talk about historical research, because even though he wrote science fiction, some of his books, they took place in like World War II, time travel.
Yeah.
So when the book took place in that part, he would spend months, researching World War II, because he explained how accurate it had to be. And if anything was off, he would get called out on it.
I believe in it. I find when I read historical fiction, if something is not right, if there's something in the dialogue, like a more modern term than would have been used at that time or something, it pulls me right out of the story. So I really worked hard. And I think I wrote about this on Facebook too. I had one thing where there are scenes in an almshouse where the young man is studying to be a doctor and goes to treat a patient and stuff. And I had the doctor using a stethoscope. In researching something else that would have applied to that scene, I found out that the stethoscope had not yet been invented.
Ooh.
At the time. It was 10 years down the line. So then I got really shaken, because I'm thinking, what else have I put in here that would not have happened? So then I doubled back and spent a lot of time making sure everything in that scene, discussing the illness and what they would have called it at the time.
And the treatments to everything down the line. Yeah. Treatment, what they wore in hospitals, everything.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And another scene too, I had at a well, I had it a pump well, and it would have been lowering the bucket kind of well. So
okay.
So it was those kinds of little details that took a lot of time to either investigate or, verify that that's.
And they would stand out, for people that read a lot of historical fiction.
I
read historical fiction, but there are some people that's all they read, and something like that would stand out. But to me, I can see you've done your homework.
I did a lot of homework on this one. I did too. I did on Ashes, but Ashes was a little more comfortable because it was based on experiences that of my grandparents or great aunts and uncles. It happened in around 1911 and 12, which is still way in the past, but because I'd heard them talking about it, I was more comfortable in that time frame than I was in this one, which starts out in 1795 and goes to 1807 or 8, I think. And the reason I stopped it there is I didn't want to get into the War of 1812.
There's something I want to do down the road. It's not going to happen anytime soon, but my father always wanted to tell his mother's story, which is my grandmother.
Yeah.
And because he passed away before that happened, I would love to write her story.
Yeah.
So maybe one year down the road, I'll get the guts to tell her story, because she had an amazing, amazing story from must have been World War One, I'm thinking. Maybe World War II. See, but I got to do my research on that. I haven't started the book. But she had an amazing story. She got pregnant by an Irish soldier, which is not my grandfather. It was before my grandfather. And she actually hiked across Europe with the baby, who was my Auntie Nikki, to find this Irish soldier. And she did find him. But he ended up dying. I think it was from complications of, they want to say, the gas chamber or something.
Oh,
but anyway, she met my dad a few years later, and that's the grandfather that I know who she met. But she had a fascinating story. But I'm getting off track here because we're here to talk about your book.
No, I love that. I love those stories. I mean, that's our history. That's how Ash came to be. Yeah.
And I have his notepad with all the notes from that story and what he researched and got from his mother and father. But maybe one year down the road. But the research just, of what's not in the notes is just like, ugh. The cover of In Freedom Lights. Yeah. This is beautiful. Number one.
I love it. I love it. The designer was at the publisher, and they said, what do you want? And I sent him some pictures of what I wanted. I have a lithograph hanging in here of a woman over the Shabbat candles, and she was the model for Annika in my head. So I sent him that picture, and I sent him some pictures, and they put that together. And when I saw it, it was so exceeded my expectations, because it has all the key elements of the story. It
does. And I mean, she stands out.
Yeah.
And it's also a mysterious cover. You automatically want to know who she is. And you obviously know the story is about her.
Yeah.
And then the red font just finishes it.
Yeah. No,
I love red font on any cover.
Yeah.
I mean, the Sabella series for me is in red, but I've always liked red font on the cover. For me, it just pulls you in.
I was just delighted with the portrait of the woman, the face, because you look at her and she's mysterious. I think originally the skin tones were a little too light, and she had reddish hair, and I asked them to change that, and that was all that had to be done with that cover. It was fabulous.
No, they did a brilliant job. They really do.
They did.
Darlene is reading it. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay. They're probably watching it in the group because I'm not getting a name. Darlene Johnson is reading your book, and she says, "I'm loving the story so far." I'm just going to check out some of the comments for you to see, because I don't want you touching your device.
Yeah. No, that would be a disaster.
Karen says, "Great job, stunning." Amanda, beautiful cover. Let me see. Hold on one second. I saw a question here I wanted to bring up. The comments goes up by so fast that the questions disappear. Okay, here's one. Do you always know what you're going to write? Lori wants to know.
No, I don't. I again, because I don't plot. I just kind of I start out with a big idea and then start writing, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I will tell you, the first draft I deleted over 5,000 words. It just was going on, and I took out stuff that didn't fit, move the story along. I had an idea with this, and it changed as it went along. I knew there were certain scenes there. I don't want to do any spoilers, but there's one character that I planted that I knew was going to show up later. He'd show up and then show up again later. And but I wasn't even sure how I was going to do it, and that took me a while to figure out. And some characters come in and leave, and I didn't know exactly how I was going to have them exit the story. So that took a while to figure out too. I did not.
The research just blows me away.
Oh, thank you. I also didn't, I had an idea for how Ashes was going to end. I did not know how this one was going to end until I got there. And
so throughout the whole book, you had no idea how the story was going to end.
I didn't know how I was going to get it to end. I knew I kind of had an idea where I was going to go, but I wasn't sure how to do it and how to effectively bring you up. I don't want to give away too much.
No, don't.
Yeah, but
I haven't finished it yet either.
Yeah, the epilogue answered my question, and I finally figured out how to do that. So, and then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just want to pop this up real quick. When we talk about my my dad with his research, Peggy put up. Of course, it's not going to come up now. Come on, there we go. She says, "I would love to read one of your father's books, Tina. My father was a World War II Army vet." So, Peggy, I'm going to send you the Prophecies Operation, which takes place in World War II. It's your lucky night. I just saw that. I want to let her know. So, Peggy, I'm going to send you that one. Here's a question for you, Sharon. How do you decide what to write about? Do you do notes or do you just write? We might have covered a little bit of this, but you must have a ton of notes.
Oh, I do. And I for some reason, when I'm researching, I do my research on the laptop, but when I really need the information, I can't absorb it when I'm reading on the laptop. So I'll print out an article or my research. So I have tons of books filled with research. And it's helpful too, because especially when I wanted to go back and verify things. So I had notes, but in terms of plotting, no, I didn't outline. I just kind of kept it in my head. When I get stuck, I don't think about it. And then that's usually when the idea comes. So I kind of work that way. But I always have my research notes are all around me when I'm writing.
Oh, I can. And you're like me, pen and paper works for me too. It sinks in better.
Yeah.
And not only that, if I put something on my computer, I can never find it.
Yeah.
It goes somewhere and I don't know where it went. Unless you should see the desktop on my computer. I mean, there is notes and files because that's where I know where to find it. Yeah. If it's on my desktop, I know where to find it because it's right there. But you can't even see the picture that's supposed to be on the desktop because it's all covered with files.
Yeah, I have folders everywhere, and always around me, and I sometimes don't remember where I put things too, especially when I file them on my computer. I'm not real good at labeling my folders, so they get a little confusing when I go back and look at them. But no notes basically in terms of plotting, but definitely research notes a lot.
Do you have like a big? Do you have a board like with sticky notes and everything for your research?
I do. They're on a frame of my husband's picture. They're all around the frame. So yeah, I do. But those are more reminders than anything else. I do. I will scribble down like a name or research or do that, but I don't make notes to myself about. Except, wait a minute, I take that back. At night, I have a pad and paper and pencil or pen at my nightstand, and I will get ideas and jot them down because I dream about.
You wake up in the middle of the night and have to write it down?
Yeah, I do. Sometimes I dream about the characters or the book. I actually proofread in my sleep sometimes too, which is bizarre. Not that it helps. Not that it helps avoid the typos. Typos are there, trust me. But yeah, I've had a really busy day. It comes back to haunt me at night, and so I do in that sense. I'll jot down an idea in that sense. I take it back. I do.
You sound like me. When you're in the middle of writing a book, you just can't turn it off.
It's all consuming, and that's why I'm taking a break right now.
Oh, good. Someone asked. I apologize if I can't find it, but someone asked, "Are you working on a new book?" This one just came out, and we already want more, Sharon.
I know. Well, I am taking a bit of a break, but I am also kind of mulling an idea and doing a little reading to see if it would work. But I'm not ready to start really committing to anything. Yeah. I really
especially when this one took two and a half years.
3 years for this one.
3 years. Yeah, you
Yeah.
need a lot. You need a break.
Yeah, and I have to say, writing during the pandemic was not the best atmosphere to write in. And you would think we pretty much hunkered down, and I would say with all that time I should have written this book in a year. But I was easily distracted, and I blame some of it just on what was going on in the.
Well, it's also hard during those times. I mean, we're still in a little bit, but we're coming out of it. But it was also a state of mind issue.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I don't want to use the word depressing, but it was, kind of just the state of mind was not very uplifting to be creative and, write about another world when you're concerned about your own.
Exactly. I know there was like a level of anxiety that I could not shake. And some days it took over, and other days I could manage it. So that also, I think, added to why it took me so long to write the book.
Right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was to say, there are some scenes in this book that are very difficult. So that, writing when you're not entirely up, it all contributed to the kind of, general malaise of some days were not as good as others kind of thing,
Yeah, I agree. They are tough times. What I want to do, we are going to go a little bit over 6, but we're approaching the halftime. I would like to read the blurb on the back of your book.
Okay.
So the readers get an idea of what the book's about.
Okay.
I'm going to try and read it off the back of my copy. Usually I have it on Amazon, but I didn't bring it up. So I don't have my glasses. So I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I don't have my glasses close by. So anyways, I want to read this. And to our readers, gives you an idea of the book. I am currently reading it. I am loving it. It is 1785, and enforcers of the Spanish Inquisition are still hunting down and torturing conversos, Jews who outwardly converted to Christianity, but who practiced their Judaism in secret. When 19-year-old converso Anselm,
yes,
refuses a cut of pork in Valencia's marketplace, she and her husband Ephraim come under the suspicion of the church as secret Jews, endangering their lives and that of their infant daughter Isabel. Accompanied by Anika's beloved friend and servant Mariana, they set sail for Charleston, South Carolina, where Ephraim's uncle Philip owns a rice plantation. Within weeks of their arrival, Anika's promise to her dead mother to continue to observe her Jewish faith and light the Sabbath candles, and Ephraim's plan to start a shipping business begin to unravel. Even as they form unexpected bonds with the young house slaves, Ruth and her mother Lindy, Anika and Ephraim are forced to confront Philip's secret life of debauchery and the horrors of enslavement. Set against the background of 18th and 19th century Charleston and Philadelphia, In Freedom's Light creates an intricately woven tapestry of 3 generations of the unique and unforgettable. Amstel's family filled with their joys and sorrows, hopes and disappointments. It is also a tale of the power of love and friendship. Above all, it is an affirmation of family beyond race and bloodlines, and the strength of the bonds and traditions that unite us. Beautifully written.
Thank you.
Did you write that?
I did.
Very well done.
Surprised.
I have to say, too, I'm not going to give too much away, but the crossing to South Carolina on the ship.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Me being on boats, of course, I paid attention to detail on that little part.
Yeah, that's true. And, all right, how did I do? Because a lot of research went into figuring out and making sure that I used the right terms. And
you did brilliantly. I was impressed. You did brilliant. And when I got to the part where they're out at sea, I actually did slow down my reading.
Yeah.
And just took in, what you'd written, and spot on. Brilliant.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that was.
How does the ship leave the port?
Yeah, how does the ship leave the port, and the whole idea with pilots and all that stuff. Yeah, I had to find. I originally didn't have the pilots in there, then had to go put them back in when I found out that they needed a pilot to get them out of the harbor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well done. Well
Thank
done.
you.
I couldn't have
Thank
done it better myself.
All right. Now I feel vindicated. It's okay.
Hold on one second. I want to bring up some comments after reading that for you. Alicia Haney says, wow, your book sounds very intriguing. Thank you for reading the back cover, Christina. We will be adding it to my TBR. Yay!
Yay, that's right.
And Virgie Lane, awesome blurb. Oh, look who just popped in. Erina, she's here. She says hello.
Hi.
Okay, when you did your research, and I've heard this question before for people that do a lot of research on the books. Was there something during your research that really surprised you, like took you back? Like, something you discovered? And I think it might have been Bambi that asked it one time, because she asked some good questions.
I'll tell you, there was something that surprised me when I was reading about the conversos. It's interesting to me that the church was more suspicious and more worried about the conversos than they were about those who did not convert, because they felt like the conversos could be subverting the teachings of the church by coming into the Christianity, but not necessarily believing in it, that their influence could be a negative one on just the community of the church, which surprised me. I would have thought, they would be looking more closely at the Jews who did not convert, but it was the conversos who came under more suspicion.
Wow.
Yeah, and that did surprise me. That was a piece of that I did not know. And I was also surprised that there were no stethoscopes in 1806, and that's why
I'm glad you found that one out, because I wouldn't have known.
Yeah, that was the other thing. But yeah, no, that was the big shocker to me. That took I didn't expect to find that when I started investigating that. And then that part of the story slips away a little bit, and then transitions to another part of the story. So
right.
Yeah.
I'm just at the part of the book where Ruth comes into the picture.
Yes.
And the blurb talks about, the slavery. That must have been a hard topic to do research on.
That was a horrible. The thing, I did a lot of work, and I depended a lot on the reportings of the WPA in the 1930s, who interviewed the remaining living slaves to find out. So their stories were really heart-wrenching and gut-wrenching, and I tried really hard. I wanted to respect all my characters, all of them, and I wanted to portray the enslaved people with the dignity that they deserved, and I hope I did that. And but there are some really hard scenes coming up if you haven't gotten there yet.
Not yet.
There are difficult scenes, and the whole idea of it.
But during those times, it's something you had to put in the book, because you can't pretend it didn't happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's historically accurate, but I try to be sensitive to it too. But there are difficult scenes in there, but their lives were difficult at that time, and unfortunately, it's part of history. And so I didn't gloss over stuff, but I also tried to be very sensitive to the environment at the time, and to treat everybody with the dignity, my character. I was very fond of all those characters.
It brings me to your debut, Ashes, which I also loved. And in fact, it was one of my favorite reads of year before last? It was one of my favorite reads. And this book still sticks with me. Okay. And in this book, it's the working conditions that just blew me away. And you had to research that. And it's kind of on the same principle that,
grow rice.
It is on the same principle, but the treatment was abhorrent to those young girls, but they went home to families, and the treatment of the enslaved people was terrible, and that it was hard. It was just hard to write, and but those were the conditions that existed at that time. And working on a rice plantation was different than working on a cotton plantation, and so that there's that in there too. And I can tell you how to grow rice. It's a great skill to have.
Well, I bet you can make the best rice now.
Well, it's growing it. I can tell you all about flooding and draining and tilling and
If I
all
ever
of that.
want to open up a paddy field, I'm coming to you.
Yeah.
You've got the system down.
Yeah. So that was an interesting part of it was all part of the research to how they grow the rice and how they ship it and what they do, how they mill it, and separating the milk, the chaff. Wonderful. I know all about it. I could plant it.
That's amazing. This is a standalone, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
So you've written 2 books. You continue to write standalones? Do you think you'll ever write a historical fiction series, or just you like the standalone?
I like the standalone. In Ashes, I contemplated doing doing a second one, but I liked the way I left the characters, and I left, the parents were still alive. If I had to go forward, they wouldn't have been. And I don't know. I liked the characters, and I liked how I left them. This book could continue, and Freedom's Light could continue too, but I don't think I will.
Not a fresh book, start a new story,
Yeah,
new characters.
I like you, I like historical fiction because you're always learning something, and I like digging into something. I'm ready to dig into something else.
Something new, yeah. I'm on book 6 of one of my series, and okay, I'm ready to move on.
Well, I know. I see you're thinking about another series, which is.
I do have an idea for a series. I've been talking about it with my husband. I share my ideas with him, and he likes the idea. He likes the idea of the series, but I need to wrap this series up first. I tried writing 2 different series at the same time, and I'll never ever do it again.
Oh, really? Yeah. You write more than one book at a time, don't you? Aren't you?
I did. When the Tammy Mello trilogy that was with the editor is when I started the Sabella series, because I had downtime, and I told myself, well, I'll just write, a suspense romance while I'm waiting for the editor to finish better endings. Well, that one book is now book 6, but there was a point where they were being written together because my editor was done, and I had to get the reunions going, and I was now on book 2 of the Sabella series. So when the reunions got completed, it's like, I'm focusing on the Sabella series, no more start another book. And I have 3 more books of the Sabella series, and then it'll be finished. I'm on book 6 now, and I've got 2 more books to write. And I know, we talk about, we don't plot our books, but if the characters will let me, I know where this book is going to go, and I know where the series is going to go, and I know how it's going to end. If the characters let me, and I hope they do.
For me, I don't know, and I know part of my hesitancy in taking on another book is I know how long it's going to take. And so, but my husband keeps saying he knows I'll start one, and I've already started doing a little research, so he's probably.
I think with us writers, we love the breaks, we love doing something different, but we get that itch to write.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen for you. And, you'll know when you're ready to sit down and write again, and that itch will start coming up. And, but 3 years to write a book, take us as long as you like.
Well, there is an age factor here, guys,
Now, you don't work also, do you? You just write.
No, I'm retired. I've been retired for about 11 years now.
Oh, good. What did you do?
When I retired, I was director of marketing for a seminar firm. I was doing direct marketing, writing. I've been writing my whole career in one form or another. I did freelance writing, I did articles, I did news pieces. But that whole time, I was also working in direct marketing. So I haven't worked in 11 or 12 years now.
And Ashes, your debut, when did you have the idea for that book? It was printed in, forgive me, 2018?
2019, but I carried that story around in my head for about 40 years. I always wanted to write that. 40, yes.
Wow.
Because I grew up listening to these stories, and I loved my grandparents. I just adored them, and my great aunts and uncles. And I even recorded my grandfather telling me all his stories. but I was doing all this other stuff. And frankly, I was afraid to commit to a novel. I just didn't think I had it for the long haul. And when I retired, I was doing work for Examiner.com and Yahoo.news, and then they stopped taking freelancers. So I ran excuses, and that's when I started writing.
That's when you started writing and knuckled down and you got it written.
Yeah, I did. And but that was a true labor of love. That was just, I
love the book. I
didn't think I'd write another one, and then I kind of got the itch, just like you said. And
well, also what I like about this book too, it's something that I learn something every time I read your books. There's something that I learn. And of course, the Jewish background is something that I learn a lot about through your books. So for me, it's not just an enjoyment to read your books. It's also, I walk away smarter.
Yeah. Well, but that's historic fiction. That's my favorite genre too, obviously, and it's what I read the most of. I do read other stuff, but I always find myself first gravitating to anything that's historical.
Do you have any, it doesn't have to be historical authors, but ones that have inspired your writing or influenced you to just sit down and get your books written? Is there someone that you just...
I can't say inspire. I love Alice Hoffman. I'll read probably anything she writes, and she does write historical fiction, and I love the way she writes. To inspire me, I can't even begin to think I could write the way she writes. But the inspiration, Ashes, it just was something that had always been in the back of my head, and that's really what's my inspiration to write it. And then having written that one and starting to feel comfortable writing the book, and that's what led me to go on and to write this one. Right.
Mm-hmm. And Ashes, this cover too.
Yeah.
Won awards. You got the awards on their cover there, which is well deserved. Is it the same cover designer?
Yes. Well, it was from Outskirts Press. I don't know if it was. It could be, because there they assign you to the same people, so it could very well have been the same person. But I don't know for sure.
Okay. I'm terrible tonight. I'm looking for my questions. I see them and then I don't bring them up. Someone else was asking about your publisher, if they put you on a deadline to write your next book, or
no,
you kind of work.
This is self-published.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's all up to me, and
okay.
And I went this route because I'd had a kind of bad experience with a traditional publisher, and you know, at my age, I don't have the time to wait it out and get the 100 rejections and you know.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah. So I went through Outskirts Press, and I'm
self-published too. And for me, it's, to be honest, it's the royalties. They keep too much.
Yeah.
I go through, to the big publishers, they keep too much, and we do all the marketing ourselves still, whether you go through a big publisher or not. And I like control of my books.
Yeah, exactly.
I want control of my books. And if I want to put, when I went, Reckless Beginnings went through a publisher, and I would ask them, I want to put Reckless Beginnings on sale. Well, that's going to take about 6 to 8 weeks. Well, how can I, organize the sale for my book if you don't even know when you're going to put it on sale? So it was just a back and forth nightmare for me. And that's when I decided to not renew.
I agree. I just didn't have the patience or the time to go that route. And fortunately, I was able to do this, and I did it a second time, and I would probably do it a third time too. There's more control. But, the flip side of the coin is all the marketing and every bit of promoting, there's no help.
No, we have to do it all. Yeah. That's why I have no life. You saw me doing a takeover today, and now I'm here with you.
I know. Within a matter of 20 minutes, it looked like.
And I'll go back and answer more questions when we're finished too.
Yeah.
Alicia has an interesting question. Have you ever written a children's book, or even thought about writing a children's book?
My bad experience with a publisher was with a children's book.
Oh, it was?
Yes. I wrote a book. It was called Lily Learns to Be a Good Sport. And the publisher held it. Oh, we want it. Months went by. I kept saying, you sure? Yeah. And then they didn't publish it. So I did try once to write a children's book. I never tried again.
Was it a historical book for children, or just?
Oh, no. It was. My granddaughter was very young. We were playing a board game, and she was losing, and she just lost her temper. I was waiting for her head to start spinning. She was carrying on so badly. And that just made me think, well, gosh, we need to have these kids need to learn how to be good sports and lose and whatever. So I decided to write that book, and it got a handful of rejections. And then this one publisher said they were going to publish it and never did.
Never did.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry to hear that. Well, it's a good thing because we got Ashes. Let's do a little, just a quick, I know this one is your debut, but if you could just give a little recap on what this book is about, because like I said, it was one of my favorite reads for that year. You just give like a little outline of the book, what it's about.
Yeah, it follows a family that comes to the United States. They were in Russia, and there was a pogrom where the Jews were assaulted, and many were killed, and the property was stolen. And they make their way to the United States by way of New York City and settle into the tenements. And the father goes to work. He has a push cart in New York. You know, in the old days, that's what they did. They set up in the Jewish neighborhood. They sold from push carts, and he's injured and can no longer work. And the daughter, Miriam, who wants to go to school desperately and starts to go to school, has to drop out of school to support her family because the father has a head injury and can no longer work. And she goes to work in the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory. And there was a terrible fire there in 1911, and 156 young people were killed, mostly young women, Jewish and Italian women. They could not get out of the factory because the doors were closed. The owners were afraid that they would steal. And what could they steal? Thread, needle. Right. It was really nothing. And there was only one elevator that went up and down on the floors where the girls were working. They worked on the 8th, 9th, and 10th floor of the Ash building. And when the fire broke out, there was very, very few escaped. And many of them chose to jump from the 8th, 9th, and 10th floor rather than burn in the fire. It was a terrible thing in New York up until the towers were 9/11. That fire was the worst fire in New York City, and with the greatest fatalities. And so the story follows Miriam and her friends and the young women that worked there and the friendships that they formed. And you know, some of them survived the fire. Some of the main characters do not.
Yeah, it's a really good story. And again, you did really good with your research.
Yeah, that one was a little easier though, because I had grown up with these stories, you know, that my grandparents and my aunts and uncles had told me about, and there were I relied a lot on first person recounts that were published, you know, people who survived the fire and were able to tell what happened. So
right, yeah, no, I enjoyed it immensely. Here's someone asking about us being self-published. I want to put it up. I'm not sure if they're an author because there's not a name, but it says, when you're self-published, can your books be picked up by a bookstore only on like Amazon? Your books are available wide, correct?
Yes.
So you do publish your books through Ingram?
Yes, Ingram, and there's another one out there too. But Ingram is distributing the books. It's on Kindle. It's not. This one's not on the Nook, and Ashes is not on the Nook anymore.
No,
either.
because you're in Kindle Unlimited.
Right.
Yeah. Paperbacks, we can print them through Ingram, and then they're in the mainstream catalog for all bookstores.
Right, and they are picked up because I can see on the internet where it's being sold. I'm sure you can do it too. Barnes & Noble has the paperback online, Books A Million, but it all goes through Ingram. Right now,
exactly.
Right now only Ashes is on Kindle Unlimited. I haven't put the other one on yet.
Oh, you haven't put this one on yet?
No, but I will. I'm getting there.
Yeah. And there's always something to do in the book world.
Yes, definitely. And so I've been very pleased with that part of working with Outskirts too. They arranged for it all, and it's out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I do through Ingram too, and that's how you can get into the other bookstores. But
the other thing too, I mean, the little local bookstores. I don't know about you, but I haven't done it now because of COVID. But with Ashes, I went around to my local bookstores and, placed them if they weren't carrying some on consignment, and did it that way too.
Yeah, I'm in a small little town. We don't even have a bookstore, which is sad.
Yeah.
Very sad. But Barnes and Noble in Valencia and in Bakersfield, I did a book signing of both. They're really nice, and I haven't been in with the reunions, but they carried the other two. So
Oh, nice. That's nice. Yeah. No, my book is only available online with Barnes and Noble. Both books.
okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, going in person and talking to them, it's they can't really say no to a real person versus an email.
Some of them do, especially you'd be surprised. But yeah, no, most have been, especially locally, they've been very receptive. And yeah.
Yeah, they support indie authors, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Here we have a question for you. What comes first for you, the plot or the character?
Interesting. An idea, the character mostly, because I don't always know where it's going to go and have a full-fledged plot. I have an idea, but I start visualizing who I'm going to place in there, and they kind of come along that way. Obviously, I have to have an idea to put the characters into, but I can't say I have a full-fledged plot before I start outline, drawing on the characters. Clearly, when I knew I was going to start this, and I'm talking about in Freedom's Light now.
Right.
I needed a couple. I wanted the baby. Then I worked in the house. The Mariana, the housekeeper, and that is also a friend and goes along with them. And then I started with backstories for them, and they kind of evolve as I'm going. I just kind of think, well, what would I want to know about this character if I were reading this book?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
So you're getting to know them as you're writing, just like the reader is.
Yeah, and then I get attached to them. I mean, and this happened very much in Ashes, and it happened here too. A character that started out kind of minor grew and was more fully fleshed out and had more to do in the story. I have a character or two like that
Do you have a favorite character? I'm going to say with this book.
In Freedom's Light.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple. I really do. I loved Ruth. I loved Annika, Lindy. Yeah, there are people that are very endearing to me in there. Believe it or not, there were two enslaved men in there, Henry and Silas. I really liked very much. So they were house slaves. So yeah.
I'm going to put this up really quick. Someone's asking about Barnes and Nobles. It says your books are at Barnes and Nobles. They were. I'm not sure if they restocked them. I just want to answer the question real quick. But if they don't have them in stock anymore, you can always just go to Barnes and Nobles and order them for pickup. And that's the same with your books too.
Yes.
You can walk into any store, any bookstore. It doesn't have to be Barnes and Nobles.
Right.
And our books can be picked up as a paperback. They just order them, and you pick them in the store if they don't carry them.
Yes, that is true. Yes.
Yeah. I wanted to put that out there. And Ashes is on Kindle Unlimited, which means if you belong to Kindle Unlimited, I think it's like $9 a month, you get to read Ashes for free.
Yes, and many other books for free.
Yeah, I mean, all my books are in Kindle Unlimited. I love Kindle Unlimited. It's where I get most of my dollars, to be honest. That's what most people, because in Kindle Unlimited, as authors, we get paid by the page read.
Right.
That's how that works.
Based on some algorithm that they have out there.
Yeah, exactly. But I like Kindle Unlimited. I'm a big fan of Kindle Unlimited. I took my books out just as an experiment to see the difference. And for me, they were much better in Kindle Unlimited. So
you put even your new books go right out on Kindle.
They go right out on Kindle Unlimited. No, I'm going to take that back. On pre-order, they're not on Kindle Unlimited. After the book's gone live, then I put it in Kindle Unlimited. And I tried where I put the book just wide. I'm not sure if you use them. What are they called now? I can't remember the code. Oh, never mind. It's not in my head right now. It's a digital place that Eat Digital, whatever. They put your book wide, and I tried that. What's it called? I have to look it up and let you know. But I tried that, and it wasn't as effective. So now I just put my ebooks in Amazon, and then once the book goes live after the pre-order, it goes into Kindle Unlimited. And that's what I do. I can't remember what E2 Digital. Put your books wide. But I tried that, and I like the method I have. what's this? I just got Kindle Unlimited. I'm having so much fun there's some really good books in Kindle Unlimited. People think that the choices, subsidiary to what, the paperbacks or the big places, but there's some really good books in Kindle. And some of the big authors are in there too, Kindle Unlimited.
Yes.
I think it's a great deal. I'm not sure is it like $9 a month or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's a little less if you take a yearly subscription, but yeah.
I think I'm not sure if you can read as many books as you can, or as you have like 9 books a month or something like that. I'm not sure, but I think it's a great gig for authors. I do. Yeah. I really do. We're coming close to ending this already. I can't believe our hour is almost up, Sharon.
We must be having too much fun, Tina.
We're having way too much fun. But your books are all on Amazon, like we said. Paperbacks are wide.
Yeah.
This one is on Kindle Unlimited, and Sharon said this will be happening soon.
Soon, yeah, not yet, but soon, yes.
But soon, but I highly recommend both of these books. Like I said, I'm reading this one now, and I'll be leaving my review when I'm finished. But I do want to talk about our giveaways before our time does run out. So I'm going to hand it over to you just for. Sorry, my computer's flashing at me and I don't want it to. All right, let's take that off. It's like, you forgot this is up there.
Yeah.
So I'll let you talk about the giveaways.
I just get 2 signed copies. If you signed on, you're eligible, you're entered, and I'll be happy to give you 2, each.
Is it this one, or they get to choose?
I was going to do In Freedom's Light, but if someone would prefer Ashes, I'll send them Ashes.
Oh, sweet. Well, that's awfully generous of you.
Yeah. So
anyone that's watching this live is eligible to be in the giveaway drawing, because they're watching this live. They're giving up their hour to listen to us, learn about our books. So it's only right that, we do the drawing for the live readers. And if you want, I can go ahead and pick the winners for you, or if you want to pick them.
You can go ahead. If you would go ahead, that would be great. I would appreciate it.
Okay, then what I normally do is I wait until we're no longer live, because the people that have come up as Facebook user, their name doesn't show until the live stops. Okay. And then I can see who it is. Otherwise, it's not fair to them that, I don't know who your name is, Yeah,
and if they'll message me and tell me which book they want, I'll be more than happy to send.
Yeah, I would tag you in the group when I announce the winners, and it's usually a couple hours after our live chat, so I can, feed my dogs and feed me and do all those little chores we have to do in the evening. But usually around 8 o'clock my time, I'll announce the winner, and I'll tag you. And if you went to bed, then you'll see it in the morning. That's fine. Yeah. I'm also doing a giveaway, which I like to do, and it's a $5 Amazon gift card. And a lot of you know how this works. You have to go to my author page and share this video, and on your Facebook page, in your favorite book group, wherever you want to say, even on Instagram if you can. It doesn't matter, but share the video and tag me so I can see that you shared, and you will be entered in the drawing for the $5 Amazon gift card. And Sharon, if you have time, whether it be tonight or tomorrow, I know I didn't get to all the questions. Most of the people watch this from my author page. If you want to scroll down sometime and if there's any questions that you'd like to answer, I'm sure they'd love to hear from you.
I definitely will. I'll do that tomorrow.
I do notice that most of them are watching it from the author page because they don't have to give StreamYard approval to see their name. If you're in my group, it's a private group. So, and that's where the Facebook user comes up, because they're in the group watching it. So if you want to hop over to my author page and answer any questions there, and I'll give you a few seconds to say goodnight to everybody, and then I'll sign out too.
It was just great. I love this. I love the chance. I always say it's the only thing I like more than talking about my grandchildren is talking about my books. So this was great.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a blast to talk to you. And when book 3 comes out, we're going to do this again.
You're on. It's a deal.
But I want to thank everyone that's joined us tonight and joined Sharon. I appreciate you guys checking in with me every 2 weeks. I really enjoy these chats. I love talking to authors and hanging out with you guys and bringing you into my home. So, Sharon, thank you so much. This has been a blast.
It has been. Thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime. And I will be announcing the winners in a couple of hours. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.